Good day, everybody. Welcome to my Wyverns or Living Wyverns minimalist guide for slaying in the wilderness. Just to state right off the bat, for the purpose of this video, minimalist does not mean crappy gear, skills, or abilities. It means the minimum, what I consider to be the minimum gear, skills, and abilities that you'll need to do this task well. Living Wyverns are one of the more difficult Slayer tasks in general, and in the wilderness, they are the hardest task by far that I've done. And I've been playing around with Wilderness Slayer since its release. And yeah, there's a lot of things that make this very, very difficult in the wilderness. But I wanted to make this guide and this video because I think I found the best and most pain-free way to do this. I still, full transparency, died a few times in this task, and further transparency, I never did a Living Wyvern task before this. This is my Ironman account, and I'm just giving it a shot. On my main account, I'm level 119 Slayer, and I always just canceled them, or yeah, I blocked them actually, or just canceled them. So they were always too much of a hassle, so I never bothered with them. And so, yeah, what you'll see here is an exceptionally uh, choppy and difficult run. But nonetheless, like I said, I found what I think is the best way to do this task, or one of the best ways given minimal gear especially, so I wanted to share that with everybody. First, I want to discuss briefly what makes this task so difficult. There are a few mechanics that the Wyverns have that are annoying. The one mechanic that I'll show you how to dodge or avoid entirely is the freezing air mechanic. You'll see on your buff bar you get a percentage of cold. You're hit with a constant poison as you're fighting Wyverns in this area, and there's a weird trade-off with the cold mechanic where the more cold percentage you have, the less poison damage you'll get hit with, and this is not poison damage that can be negated with regular anti-poison. It's kind of a separate Wyvern cold poison anyways. So if you get your cold percentage up really high, you can take less poison damage, which is great, but if it gets too high, then you'll get stunned constantly and you can't finish the task that way. So there's these little fire pits. In the wilderness, it's the same as outside the wilderness. There's these fire pits, and you can light them and stand near them to get your chill percentage down, whatever it's called. So that's part one that makes this task difficult, but that's not really anything unique to the wilderness. What is unique to the wilderness that makes this task very dangerous is that all of the wyverns in the area are aggressive. And let's see, to be honest, I have to look this up. I don't know if by default wyverns are aggressive outside the wilderness, but I don't believe they're in a multi-combat area outside the wilderness. And the typical strategy is just to use melee, or they're weakest to fire magic, but a lot of people prefer melee because you can get close to them, and if you're in melee distance, they use less damaging attacks. Anyways, melee is not really an option in the wilderness for this task because they are multi-combat and they're all aggressive, and fighting more than one wyvern at a time is a horrible idea, and you'll die pretty quickly, regardless of your gear or level. So that's what makes them tough. Now, I'm going to get into gear and abilities and all that stuff. There's honestly not much to say there other than you just need the highest level. I'm going to say magic gear for this. I think range can also work. Although, well, I take that back. I think they're very, their defense against range is very high. So unless you have really, really high tier gear, abilities, accuracy, all that, I wouldn't suggest range. I would suggest, and I would say it's a hard requirement for this method to use fire magic, like Exsanguinate, preferably. What I can tell you that is much more helpful than gear and all that is where you need to be, uh, where you need to situate yourself to do this task and to make sure that you're taking on, for the most part, only one wyvern at a time. There is an area to the south of where the wyverns are in the wilderness, which, by the way, is at around level 47. Level 47, level 46 wilderness by the Gorok teleport and by the teleportation obelisk that's close to like the old King Black Dragon entrance. So to the south of this area, if you stand as shown, you will actually be outside the area of the cold mechanic. So you will not have to deal with that at all, which is great, and which is something that you can only do in the wilderness, really. Standing here, you can also make sure that you're kind of on the edge of all their spawns, so you can you can fight only one at a time. They actually respawn fairly quickly, and they don't have that much health compared to the other, like, level 96 Slayer creatures. So if your DPS is decent, you can kill them quickly, and they respawn quickly, so My DPS is not great. I think at this point in the game, it's maybe like 100k per minute. But what that means for me is I'm able to get about 3 kills per minute because it takes me about 20 seconds to kill a wyvern. They respawn very quickly. And I counted the whole killing and respawning cycle. It takes about 20 seconds for me. So if your DPS is even better than mine, then it'll be even faster, and that's great. You still need to watch out if you're standing in this area because, especially if you're going to pick up loot, which I recommend just kind of picking up loot every few kills and using area loot to pick it up, because the further you go into this area, the more closer you put yourself to other wyverns. So normally, only one wyvern will attack at a time, but it is possible for one of the other spawns to wander close to you and start trying to kill you. You also need to watch out for things like the greater demon berserkers or what ash lords in the area that are very painful to take on, and they are persistent. I mean, this one followed me around for a long time. It was very irritating. At least they have drops now. But anyways, as I said, this is the biggest part of the guide. This is the best way to do this. You still need to watch out for other wilderness mechanics like the mobs or sorry, the ambushes in the volcano, but you deal with those as you would with every other task. But this is it. This is the most important part that will make this task doable. In my opinion, standing in any other area is not viable. You're either too close to too many wyverns or too close to the greater demon berserkers and ash lords, and you cannot melee them. You must use magic because range is terrible, and that's that. I want to make one note on the elite version of these that spawned on me when I was. Um, you can see it here. It spawned as I was kind of first getting used to this task, so it's in a pretty bad area actually. And here I ran away, but later I tried to come back and kill it, and it totally wasted me, and I died. So I recommend being in the area shown here, so that if the elite version spawns as well, you can deal with it easier. So now I'll briefly mention gear and abilities and all that. So I am using the best magic gear available to me. It's full Sea Singer aside from the Ganodermic top because I don't have a Sea Singer top yet. I am using Animate Dead, which is I would call it a soft requirement for this task only because the Wyverns hit very, very hard, especially with their ranged and magic attacks that you will have to take because you fight them at a distance. They hit hard, and Animate Dead's damage reduction diminishes and becomes less and less valuable for you the higher damage you take. So I still recommend it because it'll nullify some of their lighter hits and help you soak up some damage that way. But it doesn't. It's not as effective as it is for other tasks, like even for Ripper Demons or things like that. It soaks up a lot more damage. But anyways, the more important part is to use the fire spell like Exsanguinate because that's what they're weak to, and Exsanguinate gives you the best damage boost of all the spells you can use, except for perhaps the Insight Fear. Yeah, the ice one, but you wouldn't want to use that one here. Otherwise, I'm using pretty minimal gear. I have both the Vampirism Aura and Soul Split active. I am using Soul Split because since the Wyverns alternate between range and magic attacks, that both hit pretty hard. I think Deflect Curses are not going to be that helpful. One thing I would recommend that I don't have here yet is a Amulet of Souls for soul splitting. That would make this a lot easier. For the most part, I find that I'll get hit pretty hard and I do need food sometimes, but if I'm fighting just one wyvern at a time, I am able to kill them fairly quickly and soul split / vampirism back whatever they hit me for. The other required item I would say is a worm fire potion, which I forget the herb level required, so I'll just put it here as a caption instead. But it's made by combining a super anti-fire and an anti-fire, and it'll protect you from like the breath that these things use, as well as the breath that skeletal wyverns use, because regular anti-fire does not protect against that. And that does hit pretty hard, so you'll want to have that protection just there. As I mentioned, anything that you have on top of the gear shown here to improve your DPS and improve your damage reduction, like Crypt Bloom, will only make this better and easier. So by my math, if I'm killing 3 of these wyverns per minute, aka a wyvern every 20 seconds, that adds up to about 180 kills an hour. So it's actually a fairly fast task. Honestly, my overall suggestion would be to skip it if you can, unless you absolutely need to kill wyverns. In the event that, for example, you run out of Slayer points or you're an unfortunate Iron account hoping for a Wyvern crossbow. So I hope this helps. I hope this helps at least make this a more manageable task because so far from Reddit and the rest of the internet, I have only seen people skipping this task and just dying constantly from being piled by wyverns. So I thought it would be helpful to share that I found a way to make this a semi-reasonable task. If you found this useful and if you like content like this, please consider liking this video and subscribing. It helps me grow my channel quite a lot. And yeah, happy hunting, happy slaying, happy everything. I'll catch you in the next one.